What's the one problem that's been eating you alive? Maybe it's the job you can't find, the money that vanishes the second your paycheck hits your account, the people at home who never actually listen, the person you lost and never really got over, the mind that won't sit still even when you beg it to. Doesn't matter which one. Here's the real question. How long has it been there? Months? Years? You already know. It's the thing waiting the second you open your eyes. The thing that sits next to you at 2 in the morning when sleep won't come. So ask yourself, are you fighting it or just enduring it? Because those are not the same thing. The person who endures sees the problem in the doorway every morning, feels that familiar ache, and looks away. Makes coffee, goes to work, tells themselves we'll deal with it eventually. That's enduring. The fighter sees the same problem in the same doorway and walks straight at it. Today, you and I settle this. That's fighting. Almost everyone endures. Almost nobody fights. That's exactly why almost everyone loses. But here's the catch. There are 2 ways to fight. One is reckless. Anger takes the wheel, the brain shuts off, and what's left afterward is wreckage and regret. That's a meltdown with an audience. The other kind thinks first. It studies the terrain, finds the opening, and strikes with precision. That's a campaign. And this campaign isn't reserved for battlefields. It's happening in your living room when an inheritance gets divided. It's happening at the office where someone is quietly taking credit for work you did. It's happening with people who think loving you gives them the right to control you. Nobody ever taught you how to fight any of this. School taught you to memorize facts, not what to do when the whole system feels rigged against you. A man named Robert Greene spent his life studying 2,500 years of warfare and power, and he distilled it into one book, The 33 Strategies of War. Today, we're covering 2 of the most important ones and the true stories behind them. Let's get into it. Strategy 1. Declare war on your enemies. 401 BC, a frozen field outside Babylon. 10,000 Greek mercenaries are camped in hostile territory, thousands of miles from home. They'd been hired by a Persian prince named Cyrus to help him take the throne from his own brother. The pay was good. The plan seemed simple. Then, in the middle of battle, an arrow found Cyrus's throat. He was dead in 10 seconds. The war these men had marched into ended before it even started, and they were stranded deep in enemy territory with no employer, no mission, and an army of Persians who now had every reason to want them dead. The Persians invited the Greek generals to a peace talk. All of them walked in. None walked out. Beheaded. Everyone. Now 10,000 soldiers had no leaders, no plan, and no idea what came next. For 3 straight days, the camp fell apart. Men screamed at each other. This was your idea. No, it was yours. Fists started flying. Soldiers turned on soldiers while, on a hill in the distance, Persian scouts sat back and watched the show because the Greeks were doing their job for them. On the 6th morning, a man named Xenophon, not a general, just a writer who tagged along, walked into the center of camp and shouted, "What exactly have we been doing? The war ended the moment Cyrus died. So why are men dying right here in our own camp?" He pointed at 2 bodies on the ground. The enemy didn't do that. We did that to ourselves because we forgot who the real enemy is. Then he named it, the hundreds of miles of hostile ground between us and home. That's it. That's the enemy. Everything else stops today. For the next year, 10,000 men walked, roughly 20 miles a day, fighting when they had to, walking the rest of the time. 3,000 didn't make it, but on day 300, they crested a hill and saw it, the sea. Grown men collapsed, sobbing, because the sea meant ships, and ships meant home. Here's what actually happened psychologically. The brain cannot function in fog. When you don't know who your enemy is, it starts treating everyone around you as the enemy, including yourself. Xenophon didn't give that camp hope. He gave it a target. The moment the enemy became clear, the same energy that was tearing the camp apart started moving it forward. But this strategy has a dark side, and you need to hear it. A decade later, a broken, humiliated Germany was drowning in that exact same chaos. Economic collapse, no jobs, no direction, everyone blaming everyone. A man came along and did the same thing Xenophon did. He named an enemy, clearly and constantly. And just like that Greek camp, a nation's energy stopped scattering and started moving in one direction. The result wasn't soldiers walking home. It was millions murdered and a continent set on fire. Same exact move, opposite outcome. So what was different? Xenophon's enemy was real and solvable. Cross the distance, and the problem is gone. The other enemy solved nothing. It only manufactured more hatred. So here's the test worth remembering. If you defeat this enemy, do you actually win? Ask that before you commit. A blurry or wrong enemy will burn you alive. This plays out in ordinary lives constantly. Someone decides a coworker is the enemy, the guy stealing credit in meetings. They spend years undermining him instead of building their own skills. He leaves for a better job. They're still at the same desk, same title, same salary, because while they were fighting him, they weren't building anything. A real enemy, the wrong one. Defeating him changed nothing about the actual problem. So here's strategy 1 in full. You need a clearly named enemy, or your energy turns inward and eats you alive. But name the wrong one and it's just as deadly. If the enemy is still blurry, don't swing yet. Watch first. Then strike, so fast it's almost invisible. Today's opponent, a man named Musashi. The duel is set for 8 a.m. Musashi doesn't show. Not at 9. Not at 10. By 11, Kojiro is furious, 50 students watching him stew in humiliation. Then a boat drifts in. Musashi steps out, 3 hours late, clothes torn, holding not a sword, but a broken oar carved into a rough blade shape. Kojiro laughs. "You're fighting me with driftwood?" He draws his sword and throws away the scabbard, a gesture that says, "I won't need this again." Musashi says quietly, "You've already lost. You're so sure of one strike, you've stopped thinking. And the moment you stop thinking, you've already lost." Kojiro charges. His legendary strike cuts the air. Musashi shifts a few inches. The blade misses by a hair, and Musashi's wooden sword connects with his skull. One sound. Kojiro drops face first into the sand. Japan's greatest swordsman, dead, beaten by a man holding a piece of a broken oar. Here's why it worked. Kojiro had a method that had won 100 duels. Arrive sharp, strike once, end it. So he assumed duel number 101 would go exactly the same way. Musashi made sure it didn't. He showed up late on purpose because lateness breeds irritation, and irritation breaks focus. He brought confusion instead of a clean fight, because confusion creates openings a trained mind can't predict. Musashi fought over 60 duels and never lost once. And his secret wasn't a superior technique. It's that he never repeated himself. No pattern for an opponent to study because there wasn't one. This exact failure has taken down some of the biggest companies in American history. Kodak invented the world's first digital camera back in 1975 in their own labs, and they buried it on purpose. Their entire empire was built on film. Buy the camera, buy the film, pay for the prints, a formula that had run for 100 years. Leadership looked at digital and thought, if this takes off, our whole business is finished. So instead of building the future, they shelved it and kept running the old playbook while Canon and Sony didn't. Kodak filed for bankruptcy 15 years later, beaten by the very technology sitting in their own building. Then there's Blockbuster, the biggest video rental chain in the country. In the year 2000, a small startup called Netflix walked in and offered to merge for $50 million. We'll mail you DVDs and eventually we'll stream everything. No store required. Blockbuster's CEO laughed them out of the room. People love browsing the shelves, he said. Our models worked for 20 years. 10 years later, Blockbuster was bankrupt. Netflix is worth over $150 billion. Same lesson, different industry. Cling to a pattern that's expired and the world simply walks around you. But here's the part people miss. Musashi changed his tactics constantly, but his fundamentals, footwork, balance, timing never moved. He changed the surface, never the structure underneath it. That's the actual rule. Change your tactics, protect your fundamentals. Don't chase a new plan every 6 months just to feel productive. That's not adaptability. That's just a different kind of losing. Change when the old pattern has genuinely stopped working, not before. So here's strategy 2. What worked yesterday is not guaranteed to work today. The world moves, people move, the rules move, and the ones who refuse to move with it don't survive the next round. Musashi understood that in his bones. That's why he walked away from 60 duels. Kojiro never understood it. Neither did Kodak. Neither did Blockbuster. And both are gone. 2 strategies down. 31 to go. If this hit you somewhere real, stay. Because the next one might be the strategy that actually changes how you fight.